Hey everybody, CreamCrazy here, and welcome, while it is still technically February, to my February Q&A. Everybody, I know this has come late, and you must be getting sick of me putting videos up late. Well, my internet keeps doing the shit it does. Now, this Q&A has been building up, and I've been looking forward to this for ages. I've been wanting to do this so much, and guys, I want to thank every single one of you who put questions forward, because it's awesome that you guys have done it. Because without you guys, this Q&A would not be possible, and to be perfectly honest, me being here on YouTube would not be possible. So I'll thank all of you guys who not only put questions through, but just watch my vids, you know? Because that's what really matters. You guys out there enjoying what I put out. Now, for anyone who's come across this, let me just say two things. One, if you haven't clicked that subscribe button up there, go ahead and do it. You'll be definitely seeing some good videos from me in the next couple of weeks in the lead up to WrestleMania. Also, if you haven't got a drink, popcorn, or any kind of food snack, or to be honest, you're nowhere near a bathroom, I advise you go and be near all three at once, because based on the fact when I tried to record this on Sunday before the internet failed, it was an hour and 14 minutes long. Okay? And between then and now, I've received one extra question. So, yeah, it might take a lot of time. Now, I'm not going to waste time by going through what happened on Saturday when I went to go see Mick Foley, because if you haven't seen it, the picture's up on Facebook. But I've got a little extra. Yep. Foley signed a picture for me. That's awesome. That is so awesome. To Freddie from Mick Foley. That's cool. And you know what? I'm going to frame this along with the other things I have signed, which includes an Adam Hills tour poster, and I've got a thing up there on my mantle up here in my room, which is Roy Keane's signature from the Ipswich Town Preseason Barbecue. So I'm going to get those framed at some point. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get away from the stuff that is not to do with this Q&A. Sorry. And let's get right into it, because there's 22 questions on here that I bet you guys have been waiting a hell of a long time for me to answer these, aren't you? I mean, it's February 29th. Let's get on with it. Right. First off, we start with MSDCP, or better as I know him, MSDC Punk, because he got his new account there. Go check him out. He asks, for his first of, I believe, 3 questions, sorry, should WWE be more selective with who they let in the Hall of Fame? It's fair to answer your question here, MSDC Punk. They're already very selective. They are so selective. You've got to be in Mr. McMahon's Little Joy Happy Club to be able to get in the Hall of Fame. Now, I know the NFL Hall of Fames and a load of others are basically just the same. Your outside life has to have nothing go wrong with it. Your career has to be fucking excellent. And the guys at the top have to basically kiss your ass, or you have to kiss theirs, to be able to get you in the Hall of Fame. And to be honest, sports Hall of Fames and institutions like this should not be so selective, you know? I mean, if I had my way, these Hall of Fames would basically induct people on their career alone. Because then you won't see guys in the Hall of Fame like Johnny Rhodes, James Dudley, Drew Carey, and all of the celebrities minus Mike Tyson. Because to be honest, he fucking deserves it. And I feel that with this selective process, you get rid of people who, to be honest, deserve to be in there. Bruno Sammartino, okay, sure, he doesn't want to be in there. But fuck it, I'd put him in there even if he said no. He doesn't have to go there and accept it. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, with WWE you'd have to, but even that, there are guys who should be in there but aren't. One example being Mick Foley, because to be honest, he went to work with TNA for 3 or 4 years. That's why he isn't in the Hall of Fame now. It's the reason why Nash isn't in the Hall of Fame. It's the reason why, to be fucking honest, Kurt Angle isn't in the Hall of Fame. But then again, Angle's never gonna go in the Hall of Fame until he retires, in my opinion. And it's annoying how Jake the Snake Roberts isn't in the Hall of Fame either. Lex Luger, same reason. We know why he wasn't put in the Hall of Fame this year, because the links with Miss Elizabeth's death. that didn't stop a possible induction over the last 10 years. So I'm kind of wondering, maybe WWE should just stop being so selective and just put people in. I mean, sure, there are some people, obviously, Benoit, who is probably never going to go in the Hall of Fame. But to be honest, if I was doing the thing, not being so selectful, I mean, sure, PR disasters will be weighing on my mind, but I would, because of his career, stick him in because it's fucking worth it. I mean, seriously, putting Benoit in the Hall of Fame based on career alone makes it seem right. I mean, the Wrestling Observer newsletter did it before he died, and they had to almost throw him out of it, but they luckily didn't, in my opinion. But nonetheless, they should be basically not as selectful, because this is just stupid. If the reason why they're selectful is the reason why this next question is going to get answered. Because Rico3 asked me, do you think we'll see the Macho Man in the Hall of Fame now he's dead, or the Ultimate Warrior? Now, Macho Man should be in the Hall of Fame, but it's really sad that he's dead. Because it was only a couple of years ago that WWE and Macho Man had been on a working agreement once again. He, of course, got a DVD out in, I think, 2008. He's in WWE All-Stars, DLC for WWE 12. It was on course to throw away those issues that have apparently been up there. And it's sad that he's dead, but he's more likely to go in the Hall of Fame, Rico, than the Ultimate Warrior. Because the Ultimate Warrior's career, apart from winning the Intercontinental Championship and the WWE Championship in the match of Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6, you kind of think, what else did he do apart from be an absolute nutcase? Nothing else. I mean, you'd obviously say, based on those two accomplishments alone, that he'd go in there, and also the legacy he's held would be something that you'd give him congratulations for. But the guy has criticised the industry and done stupid things to the point where I really couldn't give two shits whether Ultimate Warrior goes in the Hall of Fame or not. I mean, he went and came back in 1996 at WrestleMania 12 against a young Triple H, known then as the Blue Blood Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He no-sold a pedigree and squashed him in about, what, less than a minute? Probably 2 or 3, okay? And that's... I can't forgive a guy like Ultimate Warrior for that. Macho Man, even though he went to WCW, pissed off McMahon, still had class in his body, still had wrestling ability, even when he literally ran off the rail with his nonsensical rants. Plus, the guy's a freaking legend. Macho King endorsed Slim Jims for WWE. You can always go crazy on that. Was Intercontinental Champion in one of the best matches of all time with Ricky Steamboat. And held the WWE Championship, I think, twice, or probably 3 times. I'm not entirely sure. I should be sure, because I know the WWE Championship history quite well. But we're more likely to see the Ultimate Warrior stay out of the Hall of Fame longer than Macho Man. Macho Man is going in the Hall of Fame whether Randy believes he should be in with his family or not. Because I keep saying this, his family don't deserve to be in it. He, on his own, does. And to be honest, Lanny could induct him on his own. Simple. I don't really give a shit whether his dad goes in or not. Just put Randy in and I'll be happy. Because he's going to go in. Ultimate Warrior, he's never going to go in unless he dies or somehow they get a working agreement going where they can actually talk sensibly. Luke Hart 11 asks, what are your thoughts on Chris Jericho's return and what do you see happening for him in the future? Well, when Jericho came back, originally, I was pissed off. Well, I wasn't pissed off because he was back, I was just pissed off the way they handled it. But when I kind of got wind of what he was doing, I was going into it thinking, yeah, he's doing something completely different. And basically, he's making us all look like idiots. Which was intelligent because it also made me want to watch Raw every week to make sure and see if he is actually going to talk. You know? Gave me a legitimate interest to watch the Red Brand for the first time in a while on a recurrent basis. And what he's done since is great. He's setting up a great match with CM Punk at WrestleMania, which I'm not salivating over, but I want to see it like there's no tomorrow. Triple H Undertaker in Hell in a Cell is making me salivate. And I feel with Jericho, his future is very unclear with the WWE because He's obviously going to be going on a tour with Fozzy in the spring and a part of the summer. So what are they going to do to write him out the storyline? Obviously, I don't think they're going to make him champion for long. Because if they are going to give him the championship, I bet Randy Orton's going to still have beef with him and probably beat the shit out of him for all it's worth. Because I bet they're going to have to revisit that for anything of Jericho's return to legitimately make sense, right? I feel Jericho, in the future, he will come back again, but he's not going to come back in this stupid, bombastic way after the tour with Fozzy. He's just going to come back and beat someone up. I don't think you can continue doing these gigantic, hyped comebacks anymore. It's happened 3 times to pretty good success all 3 times. But I feel Jericho can't do this again. He can't return like he has done he can't return like he debuted in 99, returned in 07, and returned in 2012. It can't be done. That's just my opinion here. But I feel in the future, he will win a championship again. He will be around and produce some great stuff. But I feel with this tour with Fozzy and other commitments, his time will be very limited. Rico 3, your second question. If Brock Lesnar ever came back to the WWE, do you think there's anyone on the roster today who can go toe-to-toe with him and beat him without cheating, other than The Undertaker? Now, this is a very interesting question, because, of course, Brock Lesnar, as he is a massive freakazoid. Roughly around 250 to 295 pounds at any point. He is freakishly strong, great athleticism, fantastic speed, and a variation of grappling and occasional submission moves, but also a good little amount of strike moves to all combine to make one amalgamated superstar of what wrestling technically is. And I was thinking about this. There aren't many who I could literally point a finger at and say, you can beat Lesnar. I mean, maybe a few guys in my mind could. And in all fairness, actually 4 of them come into my mind that really could have a go. First off, Daniel Bryan. Simply because he's kind of like Kurt Angle in a way. Where Lesnar does not he uses more strike attacks and a few grapple attacks. He doesn't use a lot of what Daniel Bryan has in terms of submission moves. He can obviously, and also the strike moves that Daniel Bryan uses could probably knock Brock's legs out, as well as his lower torso, to make him more susceptible for a head blow. He will be a lot more tactical, a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not devious, but never mind. I'm trying to think of a word where you scurry and he's able to get away quickly. Basically, he's going to be quite quick. In comparison with Lesnar, who's probably got a lot of muscle on his back, he's not going to find it easy. I mean, sure, the Brock lock versus the LaBelle lock will be something interesting to see. I think Daniel could try, but I don't think he'd obviously be able to overpower the strength. CM Punk could do it for roughly the same reason Daniel Bryan could, because of his epic striking ability and grappling and submission all combined. Plus, he has more. Plus, actually, I would say this about Bryan and Punk: they can both go aerial a lot more than Lesnar could. Because Lesnar goes aerial, you fear for his life, especially after the shooting star press. You then think these guys can do the elbow, the drop kick, the headbutt, whatever they want to do off the top of there. Lesnar can't. So that's a major weakness, and they could take advantage of that. Plus, Punk, Anaconda Vice, and it with enough strength to go to sleep. And plus, even though he doesn't use it, I would go for the Pepsi Plunge. I know he doesn't do it anymore, but to do that from the top rope with Lesnar would actually be a way to end it. I mean, the other 2 guys I had in my mind were Triple H and Batista. Batista simply because he could actually, for power, match Brock Lesnar. Everything else, though, I don't think he'd be able to do it. Just because on power alone, Batista could, necessarily on the right day, wipe the floor with Lesnar, depending on what Lesnar does. If he strikes a lot, Batista's almost good as dead. If he doesn't and he's kept grounded, the power game obviously would work well for Batista. The other guy is, well, like I said, Triple H. Because imagine how epic that would have been. That match never happened in 2 years. I'd say 4. 2 years, it never happened. Both these guys, great strikers, great grapplers. I mean, sure, they both have a fair share of submission moves, but I know the physicality of that match would tire Lesnar out. I mean, sure, Triple H is the most likely to cheat if he's ever going to use a sledgehammer, but he could do it. His determination could easily put him through, you know? Hope that answers your question, man. Because Undertaker isn't the only one who can face Lesnar, I know that. Just don't if they ever do this, just look outside the box and think. Who is like Kurt Angle, who is mostly the complete package, and who can challenge Lesnar to a great match? That's all I gotta say. Welsh Harry, hey, awesome night on Saturday, by the way, just saying. You asked me, what are your thoughts on Zack Ryder? Now, very interesting point with Zack Ryder, because I'm slowly coming around to his character now. I'm still annoyed by him going, woo woo woo, you know it, because it's a catchphrase where whenever someone says, it's gotten annoying now, whenever someone says you know it, I always think of doing woo 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 before sometime after it. They go, what the fuck are you on about, man? And the more fact is that Zack Ryder used to piss me off. And to be honest, you all know it because I supported him because the signs are being taken away at events, all that stuff. Zack has, basically, TLC, his match with Dolph Ziggler turned my opinion around on him. He's decent. He's not the best in-ring competitor in the world. He's got some charisma, and I'll tell you this, he can sell well and act well. And in this world of kayfabe and fake emotions and storytelling, he can pull off well. He can actually sell an injury really well. But you see how he was doing it when he got chokeslammed by Kane at the Rumble and then got pushed off the stage just before the Elimination Chamber? He's good. I mean, if only he had a bit more of a varied moveset where he actually had a lot more to offer the people, I'm sure he'd be better. But, you know, that's just me. I mean, he's talented. But I think he's missing that X factor that he really needs to be something. And I feel he could get there. He just needs to prove himself to be much more than a capable guy who dresses like a jobber and in a way acts like one. If you get my drift. Oh god. Sean7303. Right, now this one, everybody, let me just give you context for this one, right? On the Q&A announcement video, this guy Sean7303 put the question in the comment section, okay? And what I do is I look at the question, check my document on this computer screen to see whether the question has been asked already. If it is, I'll say, okay, just ask me another one, it'll be fine. And if it's not, I just go, okay, I'll stick it in. I do the bolding, italicizing, the other stuff I do to make it look nice so I can read it out to all of you. And the only issue was, I think he wanted me to tell him, thanks for the question, because he then emailed me through the YouTube personal message box the exact same question. Either you really want to hear my opinion, or you really wanted to make sure I got it. Just saying, for anyone else in the future who worries about this, remember that it's, if I get it, and if I say thank you anyway, but if you get the question, if you send the question in and I don't reply, it's on the list unless I tell you to change it, okay? So I'll put it out there. Sean7303 asks, why do you hate Rey Mysterio? One of the most common questions to pop up around, because a lot of people in the industry love Mysterio, and to be honest, I can see where they're coming from, but I've never liked Rey Mysterio. You all know that. He's one of the only guys I have criticised almost every chance I get. And there was a lot of reasons for that. And a lot of reasons, definitely. One, the underdog character does not work anymore. It worked from 2002 to roughly around 2005-06. Basically, until he won the Royal Rumble and the World Championship. The minute that happened, the underdog label, okay, the minute he lost the title, I'm fine with him saying, okay, he's still an underdog, even though he held the title to prove he is the one guy who is easily beat but doesn't give up, that kind of thing. I hate that gimmick, because he's stuck with it. It's been 10 years now. 10 years! And the fact is, you can't call him an underdog anymore. Why you can't call him an underdog anymore is very simple. He's won 3 World Championships. I'm sorry, but you cannot call an underdog somebody who has won 3 World Championships. I mean, sure, his size and stature means you can, but seriously, Just imagine, right? Say Great Khali goes up against Tyson Kidd, okay? Tyson Kidd would be the underdog because he's likely to get squished. And then once he builds up some legitimacy, you may not say, okay, he's not an underdog anymore. Then he wins a world title and you go, yeah, fuck it, he's not an underdog anymore. He's made it. Daniel Bryan was an underdog until he won the world title. Now he's not an underdog. Take him seriously, don't we? You can't call someone an underdog if they won and had success. If they're an underdog, where they come from nowhere, sure, that isn't the definition of an underdog. But that's just Super Mysterio, much like Super Cena. It's just a characteristic. You can't be treated as a guy who, at the brink, can come back from nothing. There's no way. And it pissed me off. 2. The fact is his moveset sucks. And that's mostly down to the fact his knees are buggered to fuck. Because honestly, he's had 6 knee surgeries. He can't move nearly. His moves, I mean, sure, when he debuted, his moves were flashy and awesome, and it was entertaining to watch. Check out the match from SummerSlam 2002 against Kurt Angle if you don't believe me. But I just think that now his movesets are old and stale and basically the same moves over and over again. Springing up facebuster bulldog combination, West Coast pop, 619. A few occasional DDTs out of nowhere. Drop toe holds, I don't know, it's all the same. Sin Cara at least mixed it up a bit. Did some crazy shit. But Mysterio, I think his moveset's a bit outdated. And he's not doing, and I know he's slowing, he's obviously not going to change that. 3rd, his mic work. Do not get me started on the guy's mic work, because when you've got a mask on, you don't need to speak. The only issue with Mysterio is there's a fucking mouth hole. Sorry to swear. But the fact is, don't give a guy who can't string a coherent sentence together well, don't give him the opportunity to do emotive speaking. Because it always sounds the same. Much like Cena's up until a couple of weeks ago. Where it's always, I'll stand up what I believe in, you're not going to be able to get the best of me. That kind of stuff. And it just was, it's so stale and boring, and the pacing of it all is so ridiculously wrong. There's so many, I mean, obviously, it's because, this is not racist, but because he's obviously a Hispanic, stringing English is not his first language, I don't think. I'm sure he's born in San Diego. he's born on the Mexico-US border. It's obviously going to be a combination of 2 languages together. It's not going to work very well if you can alternate between the other, and when it comes to speaking one, you have a hard time crossing over between the 2. It means your mic work suffers for it. When he was silent, he worked. Now, he doesn't. Simple. Now, the next one is quite simple. Basically, if you have a sibling, okay, like I do with my brother, when I got into wrestling, he got into it as well. He loved Rey Mysterio because he was a masked guy who flew around. To anyone, that is a very enticing prospect. My favourite wrestlers were people like The Undertaker, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, Brock Lesnar, slight bit Big Show, and a tiny bit of John Cena, plus a very tiny bit of Rob Van Dam smacked in there, because the guy was good back then. I have to admit, when you got a sibling, you don't like something because the sibling likes it. But then again, I look back and say I never really liked Mysterio. I was never enthused. My childlike feeling was, oh, okay, that's pretty cool, but I wasn't really interested in that. You know, I've never really been interested in cruiserweights primarily. Well, I mean, Billy Kidman was one I could take my interest in, and the fact is that. Yeah, I never was interested in Mysterio from the off. He put on some good matches, but, you know, I never really understood why, in a way, he's been still around, to be honest. I mean, the only reason he's still around today is because he sells merch. The masks. People go crazy. Sin Cara is replacing that mask, turn out, but I don't think people are really going to stop buying Mysterio's merch. But once that dries up, he's going to go. I hope that elongated answer answers your question, Sean. And remember, don't ask twice. So I just put that out there. Rico 3, your 3rd question here. Your 3rd and final question. Because remember, guys, you can give in 3 questions if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. He asked, if you could go to the WWE right now, would you do it? And who would you want to take on? Now, I misinterpreted this question. You should know that because we talked about it on Facebook. I thought it was a creative question, where I could go into the WWE's corporate division. Would I do that? Yes, because it would be a dream job almost. Because I'm working in a company I love. Second, who would I take on? McMahon. I'd verbally berate that guy's ass. Because, despite his ego, I'd want to stand up to a guy like that to prove I've got balls. And to basically say he's not always right. Nonetheless, the actual question decided on who, if it was an in-ring career, who would I do? Would I do it? Yeah. Make a shitload of money. Hell, fuck it, I'd make a shitload of money doing nothing. Who would I want to take on? Now, there were two things. I'd take on Daniel Bryan, because he's a good wrestler. He could go easy on me. I could go easy on him, knowing his attached retinas and all those kind of stuff, and the injuries he's had over the years. But who would I really want to take on? Well, I'd want to go back there and beat the shit out of Michael Cole. Now, to be honest, who wouldn't want to do that? If you were in a position of power, fuck it, even in a creative position, I'd beat up Michael Cole. I would do it because it's right. The guy has McMahon's head so far up his arse that you'd want to punch him in the face. In fact, yeah, actually, Cole's got his head up Mr. McMahon's arse long enough to be able to say you could punch both of them in the face for it. And I'd love to... Actually, guys, would you want to beat Michael Cole up? Answer truthfully. It's everybody wants to. Everybody. There is no one I know is a wrestling fan who would not want to do that. And if you didn't pass the opportunity up, okay, sure, you might get suspended or fired for doing it. But to go on the internet, do what I'm doing now on YouTube and brag that you just knocked out Michael Cole, it would not be a fail. It would be awesome. I haven't got an Epic Win t-shirt on here, but you see my point. It would be something we'd all want to do, surely. MSDC Punk, your second question. Where do you stand on title matches or high-profile matches like we saw with Punk and Bryan last week, the week before, and this week? Being shown on Raw or SmackDown? Should we always have to wait until a pay-per-view, or is it nice to reward the fans with occasional title matches on free TV? Right, well, immediately when I was asked this question, ladies and gentlemen, I thought up of some matches that basically sum up... Basically, I'll give examples of matches on free TV that should have either been on pay-per-view or settled well on TV. Oh, God, that's good water. The first one that came to mind is one I missed out by a solitary day. You know what that is? It is the John Cena-Shawn Michaels match from Monday Night Raw in April 2007. I missed out on that. I've been kicking myself ever since. That match should have been the match at WrestleMania 23. Simple. Because if they could do it on Raw, they could do it on a pay-per-view with no ad breaks. Think about it. It would work. It would have been the best match of the year. It still was the best match of the entire year on Raw. So hell, imagine that as pay. Imagine what Taker and Shawn Michaels would have had to do to top it. It begs the question, they should have done it on pay-per-view. It did not deserve to be on Raw. Because what did Shawn Michaels gain out of it in the end? It was non-title. It's a high-profile match that should have happened at WrestleMania in the way it turned out on Raw. Okay, sure, the power driver on the steps was awesome at WrestleMania, but I would have preferred to see that elongated, great wrestling match on Raw. On Raw on WrestleMania. Another one that comes to mind is in the middle of 2003, we saw one of the best Iron Man matches in history between Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. Now, another Match of the Year winner from PWI there. Why the fuck wasn't this on free TV? That was free TV. Why wasn't this on pay-per-view? Come on. We got a SummerSlam match between Angle and Lesnar, which was decent, with the added McMahon interceding into it. We didn't have any... Of course, it was in September when there was no pay-per-view for SmackDown because Raw had Unforgiven. They went with Undertaker Lesnar with a biker chain match at No Mercy. And they want to continue the Angle-Lesnar feud with Survivor Series with the teams, you know? So why not have this match at Survivor Series? It'll keep on elongating the feud enough. Because the feud had been going for the best part of a year. So why not? This deserved a place on a pay-per-view. And to be honest, think about the difference it would have made. I mean, sure, if it wasn't for the tag team match at Survivor Series 2003, Cena would not have risen up to the stardom. Actually, fuck it, his match with The Undertaker. If that didn't happen, that wouldn't have been the case. But I feel the Survivor Series 2003 pay-per-view needed that kind of match. To, one, put the WWE Championship on the line, but also just crown off the event, you know? Because Austin Bischoff was enough as one match in terms of Survivor Series tag teams. The next one, Kane vs. Stone Cold Steve Austin from 1998, the day after King of the Ring. Now, that should have happened at the next pay-per-view. Give Kane some legitimacy with the title. We would have been fine with that. You know? I mean, honestly, I can understand Kane winning the title in dubious circumstances, but giving the rematch clause the day after and having Austin win? That doesn't sound right to me. Never has sounded right to me. Because, in all fairness, why should Stone Cold lose the title and then win it back the next night? It makes Kane look like a complete jobber. It still did. Fuck it. He didn't recover from that until 2010. Even his run in 2002, 2003, which deserved a title reign, didn't warrant it because Triple H hogged it. In all fairness, he should have really been given the legitimacy to run, because he stayed as a main event player after that. But to be honest, from 98 to 99, Kane was not really doing much after his feud with The Undertaker, so why didn't he have the legitimacy? That should have happened on pay-per-view. Austin would have won the rematch on pay-per-view. Should have been done. And the other one, simple as it is, TLC's 3 and 4. Why they weren't on pay-per-view? Somebody tell me. Oh yeah, because giving them something for free TV is awesome. Come on. Title matches, tag team title matches. TLC belongs on pay-per-view. It's a marquee seller. I don't even need to explain it. So, MSTC Point, to answer the question, I feel it's good to have some... I mean, I've given some good examples here of good, big, high-profile matches that did belong on pay-per-view, but it is good to have something that will keep you watching the show. Because the CM Punk Daniel Bryan matches were great. I loved them. Despite the interventions and interferences, it was still fun to watch. And, to be honest, sometimes I think some matches are best reserved for pay-per-view that shouldn't be, but some on SmackDown and Raw, for example, 2 matches that come off my head, great for Raw, but they've worked on pay-per-view maybe. Eddie Guerrero Edge in a ladder match in 2002, that would have worked on pay-per-view, but it was good for SmackDown to have that match. And also, this one in the Going for Gold tournament in 2006, Shelton Benjamin and Shawn Michaels, of course, where Shelton Benjamin leapfrog springboarded off the top rope and then got super kicked right in the head. You haven't seen that clip? You're not really a true fan, because that's one of the biggest oh my god moments in history. Go search it in that search bar up there. And I feel you can put things on pay-per-view and wait, because then you milk the interest of wanting that match. But it is good to reward the fans. I agree with you there. Habishme, Ray, what do you think really was the downfall, the true downfall, of WWE Tag Team Prestige? And do you mind 3 feuds coming together in a tag team match most weeks on Raw? To answer the second part of the question, I hate it. I absolutely, categorically hate it. You know why? You want to know why? Look at this. I hate it where 6-man tag matches... 6-man tag matches should be consisting of they shouldn't be consisting of all the face guys on one team or the heel guys on the other, because you know who's going to win. Okay? The best thing you can do for a 6-man tag is to basically mix it up a bit. Put some tag teams in there with one extra guy that they've been assisting. That's what made the FBI so fucking useful. Because they could put all 3 guys, Johnny the Bull Samboli, Chuck Palumbo, and Nunzio, in one match together. It would work. Evolution would work in that sense too. You could put guys who work together in a match and, fuck it, Freebirds, Spirit Squad. Fucking members of the New Age Outlaws could even technically do it with DX next to them because they had X-Pac as well. So it's where you can't have people, actually, fuck it, put someone in there who's even got some beef with them to add some tension to it. You don't put faces in one team, heels on the other, and put 3 feuds together just to basically fill out the card on a Raw. You don't do that. Because there's no real need to do that. I know it's because they've got nothing better to do, but we've seen so many 6-man tag matches in the last couple of years on Raw that it defeats the purpose of even having a main event anymore. And on the other end of the spectrum, tag teams' prestige has been falling for 2 specific reasons. One, the tag teams are broken up too quickly. The Hart Dynasty, Crime Time, Deuce and Domino even. Because they basically are doing, even M&M I would say, because of Mercury's drug problems. But they should just say, look, we want to give these guys time to build and win them some tag team gold. Keep them together for a while. See how they go with the fans. If they don't like it, break them up maybe. Or if they like them enough, break them up when they need to intensify a feud. Or they think they're both ready. Because they broke up. The problem is also that these teams, once broken up, never reform. So they never get the... I mean, sure, Eminem did. Eminem did. That's a significant factor. The Hardy Boys did it 3 times, I think. And I feel the one thing is, though, they're not only are they taking away tag teams, the other point is they're not building them back enough. They're not building new teams. Epico and Primo are the only tag team in the tag team division. I mean, sure, there's the Usos, but fucking hell, what are the Usos going to do? Hurricane isn't tag teaming with his giant, huge bodyguard. We saw Ezekiel Jackson somehow, in a way, team with Brian Kendrick when he had him as his manager. Or, well, when Jackson was Kendrick's manager. Come on. They're not building enough teams to replace the ones that the ones that are being broken up too quickly. And that's obvious. We haven't got a proper tag team division. And the prestige of the championships and the division as a whole falters with it. Simple. Raylot2 asks, do you think there'll be a WWE draft this year since Raw, SmackDown superstars are on Raw and vice versa? There is. Because if you don't read those sites like I do, you'll find out that on April the 23rd, I think, the week before Extreme Rules, is going to be a draft. Now, I don't see the point of there being a draft when everyone can appear on each other's shows. I mean, sure, gives the general managers some exclusivity, but the exclusivity doesn't even work anymore. If they're going to do away with the brand extension, just do it. I wouldn't put a draft show on if you mix up the brands anyway. It defeats the point of exclusivity contracts. There aren't any anymore. When the brand extension originally happened, it was exclusivity that mattered. It made you have to watch Raw and SmackDown every week. I mean, sure, before that, you saw the storylines continue on SmackDown, so you kind of had to watch it, but some people just didn't, and then caught up on Raw the next week. The brand extension meant that if you had to watch if, say, Triple H went to SmackDown, you didn't watch SmackDown on a Thursday, now Friday night, you'd have to. And it defeats the point that we see the same guys every single week still, at the minute. Same guys are on Raw. Sheamus makes more of an appearance on SmackDown than he does on Raw, but he's the Rumble winner. He should do what he has to do. The draft shouldn't happen, Ray, but it is gonna. Simple as that. Super Chasney 198. He asks, do you agree with this statement? The main difference between today and the Attitude Era is Vince McMahon. Well, let me put it this way. Vince McMahon, as a character, is sorely missed today. Because we haven't got an egomaniacal, selfish, tyrannical person hanging over the WWE to create and stigmatize the heels to, one, kiss some ass and build a character for themselves out of it, much like The Rock did as the corporate champion, and second of all, actually give some authority. Because a lot of the time, Laurinaitis, Teddy Long, even Triple H, their authorities are continuously undermined. With McMahon, you didn't get it. You got his way or the highway. And we need some guy in the company on screen, in the character department now, who can do that. Because it's missing it. Because then you look at, if you look at the wrestlers, they're doing things quite orderly. But then in the area where the GMs and the COO is, it's a bit ridiculous. It's all over the place. It's crazy. And it shouldn't be that way. But the thing is, the Attitude Era benefited from McMahon. McMahon, his character made the attitude. The fact that he had an attitude to throw at you, and Stone Cold had an attitude to combat it. That's what made it so big. That's what made it so popular. Today, and actually the Ruthless Aggression Era still had that attitude. But today's product, it lacks attitude. Not an Attitude Era sense. It just lacks a punch in the mouth that you'd usually get from a guy who knew how to use it. His mouth and his fists. Because to be perfectly honest, the difference between today and the Attitude Era is the character is sorely missed. Because today, we haven't got that. We haven't got a leader on screen. And that's one of the reasons why I can never take sometimes I can never take the decisions of their GMs seriously. Because they are not being scrutinised by above. Simple as that. Works in a political situation. You've got a house. They can scrutinise the guy at the top. But the guy at the top can also scrutinise the guys on the bottom. Therefore, without that kind of character, it undermines the general manager's legitimacy. Simple. The other fact is that the main difference between today and the Attitude Era is you could also say Vince McMahon the businessman. Obviously, that hasn't changed a bit because anything he wants to do to get money, he will do it. And that hasn't changed a bit. So therefore, on one end, it is a major difference. Today is not the same as the Attitude Era on the character basis, but based on the man, it's still the fucking same. Hope that answers your question, man. MSDC Punk, your third and final question. And this has to be one of the best questions I've ever seen. If WWE became less prone to enforcing stereotypes, less misogynist, and less borderline racist, would it reduce the level of entertainment of its shows? How do you think up these? MSDC Punk, how the hell do you think these up? That is such a good question. Because to be perfectly honest, I can answer it quickly, but I want to go the long way around. You see, we know American television and Americans generally are often, okay, this is a stereotype in itself, but they are often one of three, or all of three. Very stereotypical of outside interference, of outside people, foreigners. And WWE is very stereotypical. That a British guy has to be really high class, snooty, and drink tea all the time, whilst being a fighter in some club. Like Barrett's the fighter, Regal's a guy with big fists who could punch a boxer. And you look at that and think, why is that a stereotype? It is. Rene Dupree was a Frenchman who kind of pranced around with a French flag, wearing berets all the time. Yeah, and even the fact that Mexicans are either, in the case of Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara, luchadors, or in the case of the Mexicals, immigrants on tractors. You look sometimes at those stereotypes and think, what? And in fact, Kung Funaki, as he was known as, known as in the last 2 years of his career, was such a stereotype that he wanted to punch WWE in the face for doing that. And even JBL, in a way, portrayed a pissed-off drunk redneck, and he also portrayed a rich, elitist businessman. That's a stereotype in itself. And it's annoying that they do enforce stereotypes, because I don't want that. And also, actually, they also stereotype that women are glamorous, pretty, and have to make themselves look that way just to get people's attention. Not a good stereotype. Less misogynist? fuck it, to be perfectly honest, wrestling and a lot of sport is male-dominated. Wrestling especially is male-dominated. It's one of those sports where you really have to try hard to find women who can actually pull off good box office draws in this business. Just saying, it's how it goes. Times do change, but the Centre for Gender Equality hasn't touched on pro wrestling just yet. China nearly did it, but look what happened to her. She's now a sex object. And being less borderline racist. They are racist because they don't like, well, I'd say they don't like black performers a lot of the time. Do what they're going to do. Mexican performers are pushed down the same way. They're not American. Now, in my WWE game, I played a storyline where an Italian was going to win the World Championship. It's not Santino Marella. Against a guy like Hulk Hogan or Jack Swagger, who is very American, very patriotic. And then McMahon screwed him because he wasn't right for business. And I feel what they did surrounding Booker T and Triple H was stupid. In 2003, saying, we don't like your kind around here. You're not the kind of person we like. And it's like, yeah, you're saying he's obviously a common criminal, but because he was at one point, but not the fact that it also implied racism. Now, that doesn't work out. If all of this was taken out, because it's part of WWE just in general, okay? Because it's been there for fucking ages, hasn't it? And I feel also that if it was taken out, no, it wouldn't ruin my enjoyment of the shows. Because that would mean I wouldn't have to put up with it. I wouldn't have to criticise the product for doing so. I wouldn't have to criticise the product going to the UK every time and doing something related to tea parties and royalty. I wouldn't have to deal with that shit. Because that's not the stereotype I like living with. I'm in the UK and I don't drink tea. That's one thing I already kicked the shit out of that stereotype with one blow. And the fact is, wrestling will eventually become less misogynist. It just takes time. Sorry. And the racism argument, that will just keep going until a black guy has a lengthy reign as champion that is, well, I wouldn't say isn't Booker T, but he didn't have too long a reign with the title, did he? But it'll happen eventually. All this will go away. I think the stereotypes are going to remain, but it will never reduce my entertainment value. Because the entertainment value will stay there based on what happens in the ring and a few of the outside feuds, you know? I wouldn't go too far, but it's not gonna change my opinion on it anytime soon. Raylot 2, another question from you. Hey man, why do you think WWE has house shows when they never sell out a house show? Very interesting point. Another smart question. Guys, follow on from Raylot and MSEC Punk here. Give me really intelligent questions. That is a good one. They're there, obviously, to show people who don't get pay-per-views, Raws, SmackDowns, what they want to see. Comes to the town, gives them something they want to see, in the lowest form possible, like independent shows. And that's all. Gives them a bit of extra gate revenue, doesn't it? Gives them extra money. They've never sold one out, but there is one fundamental thing I have to say about this. Australia, the Global Warning Tour in 2002, a house show there in Sydney, I think, sold out in a 56,000 seater stadium. Why? Because I hadn't been to Australia for donkey's years. And the fact is, it makes me wonder. There is a reason why they never sell out a house show. Because it's not the same as TV. That is the reason. Plus, if you look at independent shows held in a similar fashion in small arenas, it's not the same. Because that's their show, that's their livelihood. WWE has their livelihood in TV tapings and pay-per-views. And I have a criticism that if the house shows didn't exist, there's one thing that would happen. Raw and SmackDown could go everywhere. Because you shouldn't just put house shows everywhere and then go, say, the guys are going to Albuquerque one night, then Canada, then another place on one side of Canada, then they're off to Iceland, then they're off to the UK, then they're back for Raw, then they go off all over again. It's a lot to do. So what I would do, ladies and gentlemen, this is a proposal. They don't sell a house show, obviously, because one, there's not enough people, and second, there just isn't, it's not the same in terms of value for money you get on television. But the one thing I would do is scrap house shows altogether for the benefit of the wrestlers' health, and also because it can make WWE being in your town a legitimate event. Don't save accesses for WrestleMania and SummerSlam. Give the fans something that they want to cheer on. Go and have a giant huge autograph session or sell merchandise to the volume just because Raw and SmackDown has arrived in this town or city. Gives them some legitimacy, and it means that the wrestlers can relax and basically get rest and heal their injuries and train better so they're better and willing to do the job. Good idea? Share it. It's a good idea. I feel if they do it, they'll not only make more money in terms of merch sales and interest from a local area, but it would mean just generally be better for everybody. Sure, they'd have to go all over the world to get to everyone, which means they have to do live show tapings from China, live tapings from Russia, live tapings from Australia. I don't give a shit if they get back to America, if they go through America, do like one live tour a year. They go to America for most of the year, then do a part of the UK, a tiny amount of France, a few other little countries. They don't stay in the US all year round, and then if you wait, you get the crowd in. Simple. It works, and it will mean house shows will be redundant. Because you're letting the main attraction, the event that everybody wants to see, something the world can. Because if you think about it, Russia don't get it. They will soon, because they just signed up a TV deal. The house shows aren't going to get them. There's some more WWE up for it. If the audience watches on TV, then goes to see it live in person with the fireworks, the promos, the matches, like you would on TV, they'll be happy. Sorry to go a bit too much on that, but I kind of had to. Hey, it's Charles 1 asks, which past WWE event would you have wanted to be at live for? Simple. WrestleMania X7. I have wanted to find like a t-shirt for that, so I can say, oh god, it's an actual t-shirt for the event, yes. Because it's an event that I love. And it's WrestleMania. Now it is the biggest WrestleMania ever. I would have loved to have gone to that WrestleMania because the card was fucking awesome! Plus, I could have walked out and missed the Gimmick Battle Royal. Huzzah! You see, SummerSlam 2002 may have been my favourite pay-per-view of all time as of watching my DVDs. But, it's WrestleMania, man. Bigger than ever. Hope that answers your question. Big fella. 84, big fella, to be exact. This is another good question, guys. Do you think that the crowd and atmosphere in WWE is suffering due to the fact that when a superstar comes out, rather than mark out like fuck, people are more interested in filming as much as they can on iPhones and Blackberries? In a sense, just standing there, holding a phone or camera up. I love this question because it's 100% true. I go to these tapings, and I see people with their phones going, yay, I'm recording the experience, yay. Okay, I've taken 1 or 2 pictures on my phone at a show. They turn out shit. What's the point? Seriously, I have a picture of Mick Foley that I took at the comedy thing still on my phone. Because I was there up close, I was able to get a decent picture. You know? But the only thing I really have to say is, what's the point of videoing or picturing something you're going to record on television anyway? Now, I know some people don't have recording devices at home. They haven't got DVRs. They haven't got Sky Pluses. They may not even have a VCR if the old-fashioned technology is still there for usage. And I feel that's disappointing that they go all that way to something you love just to do the video. Because people at the Alter Bridge gig I went to, which was being filmed for a DVD, at Wembley Arena, being filmed for a DVD, people were still videoing it. I was thinking, what the fuck is the point when you're going to watch it in March? Seriously, it doesn't make sense. Because when I'm at the wrestling event, I mark out like shit. I go mental. Because I want to be there, I am enjoying it. People don't, and they look around at me saying, what a freak. I'm fucking loving it. And that's the problem. They're only really there to soak up the atmosphere, and that's... The crowd atmosphere does get sucked up by these douchebags holding cameras and phones. It is so stupid that you pay so much money to go to shows and all you're doing is videoing it. Save it for YouTube. Go to the show and give your opinions on it watching it back on the television. You have two different angles to put an opinion out of. Don't just videotape it. I mean, sure, if it's a house show, you've got no choice. But if it's Raw or SmackDown, you don't need to videotape it on your camera or phone or take a picture. If you're that close to ringside where you can get a decent picture, by all means, get a picture. If you're by the ramps, get a picture of the pyrotechnics going off. Video it even. But if you're videoing entire entrances or matches, don't bother. Because that's just fucking stupid. And I 100% agree. I would rather mark out like fuck and probably suffer a bit of head trauma going mental and forget some of it and won't be able to watch it back on TV to refresh my memory than just waste time. I've answered your question, big fella. Nice question, by the way. Hey, it's Charles 1. The next question. What's your favourite match of all time? Oh, I was dreading the day this was going to come up, because I honestly don't know. Now, I have some matches I've rated 5-star over the years. Benoit Angle from Rumble 2003, Triple H Shawn Michaels in the street fight from SummerSlam 2002, no DQ match between The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania X7, the TLC not too far behind, the Austin Bischoff Survivor Series team match, Taker Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. I have listed a few, which are some of my absolute favourites. As also, I would say, as well as Punk Cena. Don't forget that one. But the only thing is, I can't name a definitive one, I'm afraid. Because I've got so many wrestling DVDs downstairs. I can't possibly do it. I'm sorry. I haven't watched every... And plus, if you wanted me to figure out what my favourite matches of all time is, then I'd have to probably watch back all my DVDs and all the pay-per-views I've ever watched. And that would be hard because I've watched more since. And that wouldn't be good, really. I mean, I've got some. I mean, unlike wrestlers, unlike pay-per-views, I can't define my favourite match. I mean, someday, I'm going to be seeing a match that makes you go, that is hands down the greatest thing I've ever seen. Now, could be in a live setting, could be on pay-per-view, could be watching TV, could be anywhere. It would really take me a lot of time to think up, and I'm sorry that I can't give you a definitive answer, but I really, really can't. Largest 85. Whoo, yeah. Don't mean to offend you with this comment, but you're one of the largest hate machines on YouTube that I know of. You may take that as a compliment, because for God's sake, your opinion is basically hate on everything. Just saying, because the question you ask last, which is I'm saying last in this Q&A, sums that up bloody perfectly. Okay, what is your favourite decade in wrestling? Now, this is a tough one because I've only been watching wrestling through one decade, 2000s, because of the nostalgia attached to the beginning of it, and what I've watched since. The 2000s would win it. The Attitude Era would win it, the impact it's had, the wrestlers, the matches, the ridiculously epic holy shitness of it. I mean, the 90s actually had a not very good lot at the start of it. Which means I can kind of look at the 2000s and think, the 2000s have been quite consistent. Some years it can be really shit, but some years it is really good. And some years it's just in the middle. The 90s, the early 90s, had some great years and some very, 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 very meh. And you can't tell... obviously, the 2000s for me wins it because I've grown up in it. Simple as that. I mean, honestly, if I'd started watching the Attitude Era, or in fact, like Mark Pearson, lived through the 80s, 90s, and now watching wrestling, I would be able to say I'd have a choice. But I haven't got a choice. I have so much nostalgia for the 2000s decade and what it's given me in wrestling that to be honest, I really can't find an issue with it. And that's the thing. Your next question is definitely one that I can't really answer, to be honest. What's the worst decade in wrestling? Because it's really... Oh, a second. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hour-long video, bitches! Finally, I've had a video that goes past the hour. Sorry, I had to do that. Nonetheless, what was the worst decade in wrestling? Now, you really can't answer this question unless you've lived through them all watching. Now, you could look on them from a gaze and say, yeah, I could say the 70s was crap because it wasn't as widespread despite the dedication and working talent. The WWF started to build itself quite well. NWA was still the giant, he was king of wrestling, and it was all good. The 80s, when wrestling became TV monopoly property and became the overly bloated thing it is today. 90s, great matches, meh promo abilities, but still great matches. 2000s, similar for that. I can't really define the worst decade, because wrestling has been going on since the 1900s, at the start of the last century. Think about it. I can't answer that question. It's too broad. And I'm only 20 years old. I haven't watched every single bit of wrestling there is on Earth, either. I'm only human. I can't answer that question, I'm afraid. Sorry. Hope that doesn't dampen your spirit. Super WWE Fan 09 asks, if you were the chairman of the WWE, which belts would you bring back and which wrestler would you sign to have a better product? Which belts would I bring back? The European Championship, to give us some representation. But also, I would do away with the Intercontinental Championship, for the simple fact that if I needed it, I could unify the US and European Championships to crown an Intercontinental Champion. That makes more sense. I did it in my wrestling game, it turned out fine. Oh, God. I'd bring back the Light Heavyweight Championship as well. Not the Cruiserweight Championship, the Light Heavyweight Championship, because you get a lot more from it. There's a weight limit of around, what, 245 pounds? A lot of WWE's current roster could probably fit in that weight bracket. Gives them something to do, gives them something to fight for, gives them some legitimacy on the roster. They're not just dwelling in jobber hell or being in FCW. They actually have a place. Would that be a crime to keep? No. In terms of belt designs, though, I'd replace the WWE Championship with the Undisputed belt from 2002 to 2005 because immense nostalgia. Apart from that, I wouldn't really change anything else belt-wise. Oh, yeah, Women's Championship is the Divas Championship any day of the week. The other one, on which wrestlers would I bring in? He may be 40 years old or so, but I would sign Christopher Daniels in a fucking heartbeat. Dedication he's got, the wrestling ability he's got, the fact that at his age he can still pull off ridiculous moonsaults, and his gimmick is wide and diverse. What more do you need? I would sign Kurt Angle back in as well, even though he wouldn't be up for it. I'd give him the time off he wants, and I'd make it happen. They're the only two I can... Oh, and Haas and Benjamin as well. And also, he's not a wrestler, but I bring in Paul Heyman as well. Because, just give the product some edge and technical expertise, which some of the guys do lack today. Hey, it's Charles 1. Your next question, and your final question. Who had the best and worst gimmick during the time you've been watching wrestling? Now, I found this quite difficult. Because in terms of shit gimmicks, I've seen a few. Billy and Chuck being gay. I'm not homophobic in any way. I just didn't like the gimmick. Because you could... I couldn't take Billy Gunn seriously. Seriously, I couldn't take Billy Gunn seriously in that gimmick. The Dicks. Chad and whatever his name is, Dick, in 2005, because you can't laugh at us because we're dicks. And it's like, the fuck? I mean, TNA went one step further. They had giant penises. Guys in giant penis costumes. Another worse gimmick. speaking of the words of dicks, this is all going around in circles. Big Dick Johnson. What the fuck was that for? I don't know what that was for. A guy belly dancing, rubbing his body in oil. Apparently that was a creative guy. Apparently that was a creative guy. I don't know why. Why that was the case. Best gimmicks? Ooh. JBL always stands out as one of the best gimmicks I have ever seen. Because not only did he sell it well, it bloody worked. Seriously, one of the best gimmicks you are ever going to see. Undertaker, another gimmick, always works out well. No one denies it. The Undertaker is the best gimmick in the world. Hands down. The American Badass, though, on the other hand, that has to be the best gimmick in my opinion, just in terms of character. Because it made Undertaker better. I don't know. Would I also go for the fact that... I don't know. I think that's about it, really. Oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin, just generally. I don't know. I probably would go for the Undertaker in terms of general bestness, just general of it. I loved JBL's gimmick, I think, more than most. Because you got sucked in and you hated the guy. That is how a gimmick should do. Got that? Habishme, your second question. Which wrestler had, in your opinion, one of the worst gimmicks of all time, but yet you thought had potential or is a good wrestler? Now, I've been trying to think this up for a while, and I couldn't think of anything, really, because apart from only one person, no one else really stepped into mind. Well, apart from Brodus Clay, because his gimmick sucks. In fact, Mick Foley had to rip on it. It was that hilarious. But the only guy I can really think of is Paul Burchill. What a shit gimmick to be saddled with. A pirate. People ate it up, though. Not to say it was a bad gimmick, but to me it just was so ridiculous that you thought, it's not the 80s anymore. Why? Give him that. No? He is a decent wrestler, but he never got a chance to really show it as that gimmick. He had a chance. He came out with Regal to begin with and then got repackaged about a month later. Really doesn't make sense for me. I never have gotten that. I think Burchill could have made himself a name in this company, but in WWE, but, you know, I feel potential would have been there. Also, whenever Christopher Daniels is Curryman, he is a good wrestler, but Curryman is fucking ridiculous. Gotta keep saying it. Curryman is funny, but I wouldn't watch it. Simple. Alright, this is a hard question for me. Super WWE Fan 9, or 09, your second question. If you had the chance to be a booker for a WrestleMania, what matches would you have? What guest stars, if any, would be included? Who would have promo segments? And what backstage stuff would you have? The matches, if I ever did a dream WrestleMania card, I have actually, you know what, I've been trying to do one for the best part of 10 years, and I still can't get it right. I mean, sure, one of mine did win a Yahoo Answers Best Answer one for it. But, you know, I never really like doing dream matches because you got to think of the now, can't you, with that? You can't really do much more. Guest stars, bring along Mike Tyson because he loves the product. He'd do something, people would know about it. It makes sense to include him because he's that, to be honest, that damn good. Promo segments, I wouldn't include any I don't know what you mean, but backstage stuff and promo segments I feel are roughly the same. If I was going to use either, I'd probably use something like they did at WrestleMania X7 with Rock and Austin coming into the arena and then leaving their locker room, that kind of thing. Or Undertaker and Triple H getting ready to go, punching thin air, just to kind of get the intensity up, you know. I know, it's a very difficult question to answer because it's so much to really think about, you know? And ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, an hour and 9 minutes in, we're on our final question. I knew this would take a while, and I hope you guys are all still there. You're hanging in there? Good. Largest 85. Now, this is the question that sums up why I believe you're a gigantic heat magnet. You're a guy who hates on almost everything, and I know it based on your comments that you put in my videos sometimes. Because I remain positive. you're for the most part, universally negative. And that's not an insult to you. That's just only how it probably is your YouTube persona, I think. But this question did my head in when I got it. Do you see WWE ever getting good and watchable again? If the camera's frozen, I'm face palming, because the camera will do that after 30 minutes normally. But seriously, pal, I have been positive a lot because I try and make it so. I try and remain as positive as I possibly can without straying to the negatives all the time, despite having a very negative viewpoint on things. But I watch it. I don't mind. I sit through WWE programming and I watch it. I don't mind it. It's still entertaining. If you watch my 10 Reasons Why I'm Still a Wrestling Fan vid, you will know why I technically shouldn't answer this question, because that already explains it. It's good and watchable depending on opinion. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But unfortunately, you have to watch it because it's part of your blood now. Wrestling is where you can't get rid of it. It is good and watchable. You just got to find something you like. Don't have to explain that anymore. It's just annoying how some people just keep saying over and over again that WWE is awful now. It's not. I think it was worse in the 80s. We had hardly anything on TV, and most of the matches were really quite short. We get some good matches now. I mean, honestly, WWE is good. You just gotta look past all the shit and you get something good. A diamond in the rough, if you will. Just, please, I don't like people who say, will it get watchable again? It's watchable if you're still watching it. With all this hatred, it proves it's still watchable. It may not be the best program in the world, but things go through slumps all the time. The Simpsons went through it in the mid-2000s. And the fans stuck on. We've done the same, and to be honest, we're not looking back, are we? So I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm going to leave it there, largest. I'm going to leave it there. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Q&A is finished! You heard me. That's taken how long? An hour and 12 minutes. Fuck! And it explains why doing a Q&A 2 months, after 2 months, really, technically it wasn't a good idea. But nonetheless, guys, I hope you've all enjoyed this Q&A. And the Q&A window for March is now officially open. Well, actually, it's open the moment this video appears anywhere. You can start asking me questions to begin this process all over again. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I have. Click the subscribe button, the like button, and comment down there in the comment section if you want. It's all there. You can comment on anything I've said or any of the questions if you want to answer them yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back for it. I might not be back for In the News in the week. Just to quickly point that out, depending if there's not much news really going on right now, I don't think I'll be able to do it. If I'm not, then I'll be back on Sunday. I'll be back on Sunday for the last video that I am doing before I go off to Brussels for 4 days. So I won't be here in the week. And that will be 10 reasons I hate WrestleMania. Ooh, I'm thinking to myself right now, that's a topic some people won't touch. I love WrestleMania, but this should be a good topic. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope if you've stayed through this entire Q&A, give yourself a clap, because you deserve it. Remember, add me on Facebook, search CreamCrazyWR on Skype, and remember, ask me Q&A questions all over again. They'll be on the list. Guys, I've been Cream Crazy. You've been people watching. This has been my ginormously long February Q&A, and I will see you, hopefully on Wednesday, but if not, on Sunday. Was it Wednesday? I think it's on Friday now. Either way, In the News will be on Friday, if it does come, and the Wrestling Rant will be on the Sunday. Simple. See you then.